Michael Jordan once said, "Just play, have fun, enjoy the game." These days, the games to which he refers are commonly thought of as basketball, soccer, football, or baseball, your basic traditional sports. But why are these sports so traditional? What makes their legacy any greater than other sports, surfing, skating, biking, etc.? What if action sports were on par with conventional sports? And what if this took place in a school setting? We are under-exercised as a nation. We look instead of play. We ride instead of walk. Our existence deprives us of the very minimum of physical activity essential for healthy living. John F. Kennedy. Kids these days have plenty of opportunity to enjoy themselves, yet most find themselves lured indoors playing video games for hours on end, perhaps because they are triangles shoved into the square holes of conventional athletics. Not everyone has the qualities of a basketball, football, or soccer player. Where do a lot of these kids turn? To alternative sports. The issue of obesity in children is vast and growing. New options need to be addressed, and alternative athletics may provide a solution. Clubs and teams such as these will not only be a fun way for kids to become more active, but a great way for kids of different social groups or backgrounds to find commonalities and become closer.
Active sports is a great idea. I think back to the, I'm a product of the 20th century. We really didn't have these active sports available to us. Things like snowboarding and skateboarding and rock climbing and kayaking. We didn't really have those kind of sports. So it's good to see that those sports are making it into the mainstream.
The transition from the physically demanding work of farm life to the pre-industrial society of the Industrial Revolution in the United States led to the development of uncommon diseases such as cardiovascular disease, cancer, and type 2 diabetes to become the leading causes of deaths due to the decrease in physical activity levels that accompanied city life. Physical education was integrated in the United States into the public schools of Boston back in 1833, requiring that teachers set aside 15 minutes each day for physical activity. Sports came to the scene in 1862 when the first high school football club was created at Dixwell Private Latin School in Boston. America's poor physical fitness was brought to national attention after World War I because, during the draft, the government realized that only 2 out of every 3 draftees were fit enough for combat. This startling statistic led the government to pass a legislation requiring public schools to improve their physical education programs. Unfortunately, funding for these programs were cut during the Great Depression as physical fitness was not viewed as an important matter, and physical fitness levels in America continued to drop. The importance of physical activity was forgotten until World War II, where nearly half of all draftees were rejected because of poor fitness, once again emphasizing the importance of physical fitness.
So the risk of injury with some of these extreme sports or active sports is greater. So I think the importance would be to have a really quality instructor and make sure that that instructor has both as a class can teach up to 18 to 20 kids, but then I think the instructor needs to take it upon themselves to do more of an individual instruction to make sure that the skill levels are appropriate before the kids go out and actually attempt these sports.
There are 2 main issues with alternative sports in high schools: the lack of practicality and increased liability. These sports are impractical because they require a lot of gear that is expensive. A wetsuit, for example, can range from $150 to $400. Compare this to the expense of football gear. All of the pads and clothing, not to mention all of the gear that is required to play the game, is very similar or more than the cost of a skateboard and a helmet. These sports put the schools at a greater risk of liability because of the injuries that can occur. Because of their nature, these sports produce mainly wrist and shoulder injuries. In an injury bulletin released in May of 2007, only 15% of injuries that occurred required admittance to the hospital. That means 85% of the injuries that do occur are minor and can be attended by any school nurse or physician.
So those kind of things I think would be a good thing to have as part of the PE curriculum. Parent involvement and skilled instructors in the schools.
In reality, while many might think that these alternative sports are dangerous and impractical, this is far from the truth. The benefits of these sports in health and motivation far outweigh the possibility of injury and lack of practicality. Alternative sports such as surfing, skateboarding, and snowboarding are becoming an enormous media enterprise. In this kind of media light, getting money for projects such as this is not as difficult as it may appear. Businesses sponsor athletes and programs simply to get their own name or product viewed by the public. San Luis Obispo County has its fair share of alternative sports shops. Starting off with local sponsorships will pay off better in the long run with a project such as this. Local shops support the schools with discounts for kids on equipment, free clothes, and free stickers. Overall, local shops are ideal sponsors because they are close and personable. They will see the benefit in clubs like this, and in a community such as this, getting sponsored will be simple, fast, and easy. If alternative sports are not incorporated into the school system, the kids who aren't interested in traditional sports will continue to stick to their daily routine of eating while watching television or playing video games for hours on end. These kids need a different way of getting exercise, and this is something that would bring a lot of joy to them because they can choose to do whatever they want. Childhood obesity is an epidemic that is sweeping the nation. New avenues of change need to be explored, and alternative sports may provide the stimulant that kids need to get moving again.